Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Without Limit. I'm your host, Julia. Here we learn English step by step with real stories, practical dialogues, and tips you can use every day. In today's episode, we'll focus on improving your listening, comprehension, and fluency through examples from daily life, travel, and professional situations. These stories and conversations will help you understand English more naturally while also showing you how to use polite, confident communication in real life. Let's begin with a simple but useful scenario. Imagine you're in a library and you want to find a specific book. You could ask, "Excuse me, can you help me find books on modern architecture and urban design?" The librarian may reply, "Certainly. Are you looking for beginner-friendly material or advanced references?" You could then answer, "I'm seeking advanced references with detailed analysis. Thank you." Notice how asking clear questions and listening carefully helps you get exactly what you need. These small skills make communication smoother and more effective. Now, let me share a story. My friend Megan decided to take photography classes. The lessons were in English, and the teacher often used technical words about lighting and composition. At first, Megan felt lost, but she kept asking questions, repeating the new terms, and practicing what she learned. After a few weeks, not only did her photos improve, her English confidence grew too. Her story shows how combining your hobbies with English practice keeps learning fun and rewarding. Here's another professional example. My friend Andrew, who works as a consultant, had to give a big presentation to clients. He prepared carefully, created clear slides, and even practiced answering possible questions. On the day of the meeting, he spoke with confidence and clarity. His clients praised his professionalism. Andrew's story reminds us that preparation and anticipation are key for success, not just in business, but in language learning too. Let's imagine another real-life situation. You're at a bus station and you want to know which bus goes to the airport. You might say, "Excuse me, which bus goes to the airport and how often does it leave?" The staff could reply, "Bus number 20 goes every 20 minutes. Would you like a ticket?" You answer politely, "Yes, please. Thank you for your help." Again, notice how clear, simple questions make travel much easier. This is the same skill you use in English conversations. Ask, listen, and respond. Here's a personal story that shows the power of persistence. My neighbor, Mr. Phillips, started learning woodworking. At first, his shelves were uneven and his measurements were off, but he didn't give up. He practiced every day, watched tutorials, and asked for advice from a mentor. Soon, he built a beautiful bookshelf, and later, even a coffee table. His progress proves that consistency, patience, and practice lead to mastery, whether you're building furniture or learning English. Now let's move into a workplace situation. Imagine you're in a team meeting and you want to contribute politely. You might say, "I've analyzed our customer feedback and noticed some trends. Would it be helpful if I prepared a detailed summary?" A colleague could respond, "That would be excellent. Your insights will guide our next steps." This type of phrasing is polite, professional, and confident, perfect for building strong communication skills. I'd like to share another travel story. Last autumn, my husband and I went hiking in the mountains. Our guide Simon explained the history, the trails, and even details about local wildlife. Some words were unfamiliar, but by asking questions and taking notes, we followed along and enjoyed the whole trip. That experience showed me once again that curiosity and active listening are the best tools for learning. Let's practice a casual conversation in a cafe. You might say, "Good morning. I'd like a flat white with soy milk and a slice of carrot cake, please. Are there any specials today?" The barista could reply, "Yes, our lemon tarts are freshly baked." You can respond warmly, "That sounds perfect. I'll try one. Thank you." Simple, polite exchanges like this make daily interactions feel natural. Here's another inspiring story. My friend Ethan wanted to learn calligraphy. At first, his letters looked shaky and uneven, but he kept practicing every day, followed online tutorials, and asked for feedback from others. After a few months, he became so skilled that he even taught a workshop. His journey shows that steady effort transforms beginner mistakes into real confidence, just like with English. Before we close, let's return to one more learning tip. My friend Laura joined a volunteer program at her local library. At first, she didn't understand all the instructions, but she kept asking questions, practicing phrases aloud, and learning from her mistakes. Eventually, she became so confident that she could guide new volunteers herself, in English. Her story reminds us that learning in real-life situations is one of the fastest ways to grow. So, as we finish today's episode, remember this: every small effort adds up. Ask questions, listen carefully, repeat phrases, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Whether you're traveling, working, or enjoying a hobby, you can use English naturally in your daily life. Let's practice another short dialogue together. Imagine you're at a bookstore asking for a recommendation. You could say, "Hello, I'm looking for a novel that is both thrilling and thought-provoking. Could you recommend something?" The bookseller might reply, "Certainly. I would suggest The Midnight Library. It's exciting, but also has deep reflections about life choices." You could respond, "That sounds perfect. I'll take it. Thank you." Notice how descriptive words like thrilling and thought-provoking make your request clearer and also make your English sound more advanced. Now, here's another story from everyday life. My neighbor, Mr. Clark, decided to start jogging every morning. At first, he could only run for about 10 minutes before feeling exhausted, but he didn't give up. Each day, he increased his distance a little, focused on his breathing, and worked on pacing himself. After a few weeks, he was running for over an hour. This isn't just a story about jogging. It's a reminder that consistency and patience help us improve in any skill, including English. Let's move into a professional setting. Imagine you're at a cafe with a colleague and you want to ask for their opinion on a project. You could say, "I wanted to ask your opinion on the new proposal. Do you think it aligns with our goals?" Your colleague might respond, "I think it has potential, but we may need to adjust the timeline." You can reply, "I agree. Let's set up a short meeting to discuss the adjustments in detail." Notice how professional conversations often include agreement, clarification, and polite suggestions. This balance keeps communication smooth and respectful. Here's a personal story from my life. Last weekend, my husband and I visited a small museum in our city. Our guide, Mr. Ahmed, explained the history of each exhibit in detail. Some of the words were new to me, but by listening carefully and asking questions, I understood most of what he said. After the visit, I felt more confident using those words in conversation. That experience showed me how much asking questions and engaging actively improves listening and comprehension. Let's look at another professional scenario, giving feedback. You might say, "I appreciate the effort you put into this report. I think it could be even stronger if we added some charts to support the analysis. What do you think?" This phrasing combines positive feedback with constructive advice. Using polite questions makes communication more professional and effective. Here's a story about learning through mistakes. My friend James recently started baking at home. He tried a new bread recipe, but accidentally used salt instead of sugar. Of course, the bread didn't taste very good, but he learned an important lesson. Read the recipe carefully and double-check ingredients. On his next attempt, the bread was perfect. This story reminds us that mistakes are part of the learning process, whether in baking or in English. Now, let's practice a slightly longer dialogue at a train station. You might ask, "Excuse me, could you tell me which platform the train to Manchester leaves from?" The station officer could reply, "It leaves from platform 4 at 3:15 p.m. Are you catching the express or the regular service?" You might answer, "I'm taking the express, thank you very much." Here, details like time and platform matter a lot, just like in English conversations. Listening carefully and responding clearly avoids misunderstandings. I also want to share a story about my colleague Jonathan. He recently organized a virtual conference for an international company. Coordinating across different time zones was a real challenge. Some speakers were late and others had microphone or camera issues. Jonathan had to stay calm and solve problems quickly. He kept the audience updated, adjusted the schedule, and by the end, the conference was a success. The company praised his professionalism. His story reminds us that flexibility and problem solving are essential in both work and everyday life. Now, let's imagine another business conversation, this time with a client. You might say, "I understand your requirements, and I believe we can meet the deadlines if we prioritize the key tasks first. Does that sound feasible to you?" The client may reply, "That seems reasonable. Let's focus on the most critical aspects first." Notice how polite phrasing and offering solutions create a positive and productive discussion. Now, let's look at a travel story. Last summer, my husband and I visited a small town near the mountains. We stayed in a family-owned guest house, and the owner, Mr. Fernandez, shared fascinating stories about local traditions. He even invited us to join a community festival. We learned traditional dances, tried local dishes, and helped decorate the area. That experience showed me that engaging with locals and participating actively is the best way to learn about a culture and a wonderful way to practice English. Here's another professional scenario. Imagine you're in a team meeting and you want to introduce a new idea. You might say, "I'd like to propose an alternative approach to our current strategy. It might increase efficiency and reduce costs. I'd be happy to discuss the details with the team." A colleague could respond, "That's an interesting suggestion. Could you share a brief outline so we can evaluate it?" Using clear, confident language like this shows leadership while still inviting collaboration. Now, a story from my friend Laura. She started a small online business selling handmade crafts. At first, marketing was difficult. She studied social media advertising, practiced writing descriptions, and took better product photos. Slowly, her sales increased and customers left positive feedback. Laura told me that persistence and adapting her approach made all the difference. From her story, we learn that flexibility, consistency, and learning from mistakes are the keys to success. Let's practice one last dialogue for today. Imagine you're at a restaurant and want to ask for advice. You could say, "Hello, I'm not sure which dish to choose. Could you recommend something popular and light?" The waiter might reply, "I suggest our grilled salmon with vegetables. It's a customer favorite and not too heavy." You could answer, "That sounds perfect. I'll try that. Thank you." See how polite phrasing and listening carefully make interactions smoother and more enjoyable. Here's another personal experience I want to share. One evening, my husband and I decided to renovate a small section of our garden. We wanted to plant flowers and add a cozy seating area. We planned the layout, chose the plants, and started digging. At first, we faced some difficulties. The soil was hard and some tools were missing. We adapted by borrowing tools from a neighbor and worked carefully. By the evening, the garden looked beautiful and we felt proud. This story teaches us an important lesson. Careful planning and problem solving lead to success even when unexpected challenges appear. Now let's think about a professional situation at work. Suppose you're giving feedback to a colleague on a report. You might say, "I appreciate the effort you put into this report. I think it could be even stronger if we include some visual charts to support the data. What are your thoughts?" Your colleague could respond, "That's a great idea. I can add charts and update the report by tomorrow." See how polite suggestions and collaboration improve results while keeping the interaction professional. Here's a story about learning English in an unusual way. My friend Michael decided to watch cooking tutorials in English to improve his listening skills. At first, he could only catch a few words, but he wrote down new vocabulary, repeated sentences aloud, and practiced pronunciation. After a few weeks, he could understand entire tutorials without subtitles and even explain recipes to his friends in English. This shows that combining personal interests with language learning makes the process both enjoyable and effective. Let's practice a dialogue at a train station. You might ask, "Excuse me, is this the correct platform for the train to Bristol?" The station officer replies, "Yes, it leaves from platform 6 at 4:20 p.m. Are you traveling with luggage?" You could answer, "Yes, I have one suitcase. Thank you for your help." Notice how providing brief, clear details in your response ensures effective communication. Here's another everyday story. My neighbor, Mr. Richards, started volunteering at a local community center. At first, he was nervous about interacting with new people. He observed routines, asked questions, and gradually joined in organizing activities. Over time, he became confident, helped lead workshops, and even trained new volunteers. This story highlights how patience, observation, and participation are essential for learning both skills and language naturally. Let's look at a travel situation at a hotel. You might say, "Good evening. We have a reservation under the name Blake. Could you please confirm the room details?" The receptionist could reply, "Certainly. You have booked a deluxe room with a mountain view for 2 nights. Is there anything special you would like us to prepare?" You could answer, "That's perfect. If possible, please provide extra towels. Thank you." Notice how polite requests and careful listening make real-life interactions smooth and professional. Another story comes from my friend Olivia, who attended a professional networking event. She was nervous at first because she didn't know anyone, but she decided to start conversations by asking about people's projects and interests. Soon she made meaningful connections, learned new strategies for her work, and practiced speaking English confidently. This shows that curiosity and active participation help in both social and professional situations. Here's a dialogue example at a bookstore. You might ask, "Hello, I'm looking for a nonfiction book about sustainable living. Could you recommend something?" The bookseller may reply, "Certainly. I suggest The Zero Waste Home. It's practical and easy to read." You could respond, "That sounds exactly like what I need. Thank you for your suggestion." Notice how descriptive language and listening carefully ensures clear and effective communication. Now, let's think about a coffee shop scenario. You might say, "Good afternoon. I would like a cappuccino with almond milk, please. Also, could you suggest a light snack to go with it?" The barista could reply, "Our blueberry muffins are freshly baked and very popular." You could answer, "That sounds perfect. I'll take one." Notice how polite phrasing and asking for suggestions makes the conversation smooth and friendly. Here's a personal story about learning patience and observation. My husband and I decided to try painting a small mural in our living room. At first, getting the proportions and colors right was challenging. We took breaks, observed mistakes, and adjusted the design. By the end, the mural looked amazing, and we felt proud. This story reminds us that taking time, observing carefully, and being patient are essential for success in any activity, including mastering English. Another professional scenario involves attending an online conference. Imagine you want to ask a question during a session. You could write, "Thank you for your presentation. Could you please elaborate on how your strategy can be applied to small businesses?" The speaker may respond, "Certainly. The approach is scalable and can be adapted for smaller teams with limited resources." This shows that concise and respectful questions improve understanding and communication in professional settings. Let's practice a travel-related dialogue at the airport. You might ask, "Excuse me, could you tell me where the check-in counter for Lufthansa is?" The airport staff may reply, "It's on the 3rd floor near gate 12. Do you need assistance with luggage?" You could answer, "Yes, I have one suitcase. Thank you very much." Notice how clear questions, attention to details, and polite responses make your English sound professional and natural. Finally, let's hear a story about my friend Henry, who faced a professional challenge. He works as a software developer and was asked to fix a complex bug in an important project. The code had been written by multiple teams over several years, so understanding it wasn't easy. Henry took a systematic approach. First, he reviewed all the documentation. Then, he ran tests to identify the exact problem. After a few hours of focused work, he found the bug and corrected it. His team praised him for the solution. Henry said that staying calm and analyzing the problems step by step was the key to success. This story shows that patience, focus, and structured thinking help solve complex problems, whether at work or in daily life. Now, imagine a conversation with a colleague about improving team performance. You might say, "I've noticed that we could enhance efficiency if we streamline the reporting process. What are your thoughts?" The colleague could respond, "That makes sense. We could create a template to make reporting faster and more consistent." Notice how suggesting improvements politely encourages collaboration rather than confrontation. Let's finish with a travel story. Last autumn, my husband and I visited a historic town in Europe. We joined a guided walking tour led by a local historian, Sophia. She explained the stories behind ancient buildings, shared interesting legends, and described cultural traditions. Some words were new, but by listening carefully and asking questions, we understood most of the explanations. At the end, we felt enriched, not only in history, but also in English vocabulary. This demonstrates that combining curiosity, engagement, and active listening strengthen your language skills and general knowledge. Let's practice a professional scenario in a team meeting. You might say, I suggest we review the project milestones for the next quarter. By prioritizing high-impact tasks, we can ensure smoother progress. A team member could respond, That's a solid approach. Let's draft the timeline and assign responsibilities accordingly. Notice how using clear suggestions and showing initiative improves both understanding and professional communication. Here's a story from everyday life. My neighbor, Mr. Anderson, decided to renovate his kitchen. He bought materials, studied design ideas online, and planned every step carefully. During the renovation, unexpected issues appeared, like delayed deliveries and minor construction mistakes. Instead of getting frustrated, he adjusted the schedule and worked efficiently with the contractors. By the end, the kitchen looked beautiful. Mr. Anderson said that he had learned more about planning and problem solving than ever before. This example shows us that adaptability and a calm mindset are essential for success. Let's practice a dialogue at a bookstore. You might ask, Hello, I'm searching for a book about leadership and management. Could you recommend something engaging? The bookseller could reply, Yes, Leaders Eat Last is very informative and easy to read. You could answer, Perfect, I'll take it. Thank you for your recommendation. Notice how precise vocabulary and polite phrasing ensures smooth and professional communication. Here's another story about learning English naturally. My friend Emily started volunteering at an animal shelter. She had to communicate with volunteers, staff, and visitors in English. At first, she struggled to understand instructions quickly, but she listened carefully, asked clarifying questions, and repeated sentences aloud. After a few weeks, she could participate actively, guide new volunteers, and even help organize events. Emily's experience highlights that immersive practice in real-life situations accelerates language learning. Now, consider a professional conversation in an office setting. You might say, I've reviewed the marketing report and noticed a few trends we could explore further. Can we discuss them in the next meeting? A colleague could respond, Absolutely. Let's schedule a short session to analyze the trends together. Notice how sharing observations and proposing solutions politely strengthens teamwork and communication skills. Here's a personal story from my life. One evening, my husband and I decided to build a small bookshelf for our living room. At first, the instructions were confusing and some pieces didn't fit perfectly. Instead of giving up, we measured carefully, adjusted the parts, and worked together. By the end, the bookshelf was complete and sturdy. This story shows that patience, teamwork, and careful observation are vital skills for any task, including improving your English. Let's practice a dialogue at a train station. You might ask, Excuse me? Which platform does the train to Edinburgh leave from? The station officer may reply, It departs from platform 9 at 5:45 p.m. Are you carrying luggage? You could answer, Yes, one suitcase. Thank you for the information. Notice how including small details in your responses ensures clarity and smooth conversations. Here's another story from a professional context. My friend Anna is a graphic designer. She was asked to create a presentation for a high-profile client. The client requested specific colors, images, and fonts. Anna made several drafts, sought feedback, and revised until the client was satisfied. She explained that listening carefully to instructions and being open to feedback were crucial for delivering high-quality work. This reminds us that attention to detail and collaboration are essential for success in any profession. Let's look at a travel-related example. My husband and I visited a coastal village to try local cuisine. The restaurant owner, Mr. Patel, explained traditional dishes and recommended specialties. We asked questions about ingredients and preparation methods. By listening carefully and engaging in conversation, we not only enjoyed delicious meals, but also learned new culinary vocabulary in English. This shows that curiosity and interaction improve both cultural knowledge and language skills. Here's a dialogue for a cafe scenario. You might say, "Good morning. I'd like a latte with oat milk, please. Could you also suggest a pastry that pairs well with it?" The barista could respond, "Our almond croissant goes perfectly with a latte." You could answer, "That sounds excellent. I'll take one. Thank you." Notice how polite requests and descriptive words enhance communication in daily interactions. Now let's discuss a personal experience about public speaking. My friend David had to present at a conference for the first time. He was nervous and worried about pronunciation. To prepare, he practiced in front of his husband, recorded himself, and focused on pacing and clarity. On the day of the conference, he delivered his presentation confidently and received positive feedback. David's experience teaches us that preparation, practice, and self-confidence are critical for effective communication. Here's another professional scenario. Imagine negotiating a contract with a client. You could say, "I understand your requirements and believe we can meet your expectations. Perhaps we could discuss the timeline and budget to ensure mutual agreement." The client may reply, "That approach works for me. Let's finalize the details in writing." Using polite language and clear explanations ensures negotiations are productive and professional. Here's a story from everyday life. My neighbor, Mrs. Wilson, decided to organize a local gardening club. She invited neighbors, planned activities, and shared gardening tips. At first, only a few people attended, but as word spread, the club grew. Mrs. Wilson said that patience, consistent effort, and welcoming communication helped the club thrive. This example shows that persistence and positive interaction lead to success in both social and learning environments. Let's practice a dialogue at a library. You might ask, "Excuse me, could you help me find books about modern architecture?" The librarian could reply, "Certainly. The section is on the second floor. Do you need recommendations for beginners or advanced readers?" You could answer, "I'm looking for something advanced but easy to understand. Thank you." Notice how asking precise questions and listening carefully ensures effective communication. Now let's talk about learning English through hobbies. My friend Rachel started photography as a hobby. She joined an English-speaking photography club where members shared tips, discussed techniques, and gave feedback on photos. At first, she struggled to understand technical terms,
But by asking questions, taking notes, and practicing regularly, she improved both her English and photography skills. Rachel's experience shows that combining hobbies with language practice makes learning enjoyable and practical. Let me share a story about my friend Thomas, an event planner. Last month, he was asked to organize a large outdoor corporate event. On the morning of the event, heavy rain began unexpectedly. Most of the team panicked, but Thomas quickly made alternative arrangements. He moved seating under temporary shelters, informed caterers about the changes, and kept attendees updated calmly. Despite the weather, the event went smoothly, and the company praised his quick thinking. From Thomas's experience, we learn that remaining calm under pressure and having contingency plans is essential in both professional and personal life.
Now imagine giving advice to a colleague who is struggling with a presentation. You could say, "I noticed your slides are informative, but adding a few visuals might help the audience follow your points better. What do you think about trying that?" Your colleague may reply, "That's a good idea. I'll make the changes and see how it improves clarity." This shows that constructive suggestions and polite phrasing enhance communication without offending anyone. Here's a story from my travels. Last winter, my husband and I visited a small mountain village. We decided to explore the surrounding forests. We met a local guide, Marco, who explained how to navigate trails safely and identify interesting wildlife. At first, the instructions were a bit hard to follow, but by paying attention and asking questions, we successfully completed the hike. This experience taught us that careful listening, observation, and active participation improve both comprehension and confidence in English. Let's practice a dialogue in a professional environment. You might say, "I'd like to propose a new marketing strategy that could increase engagement on social media. Would it be possible to review it in tomorrow's meeting?" A colleague might reply, "Certainly. Please prepare a short summary so we can discuss it efficiently." Notice how clear suggestions and polite requests create a professional, productive discussion. Here's a story from everyday life. My neighbor, Mr. Peterson, decided to learn woodworking as a hobby. He bought tools, watched tutorials, and started with simple projects. At first, his pieces were uneven and imperfect, but he kept practicing, measured carefully, and gradually improved. By the end of the month, he had created a small shelf for his living room. This story shows that persistence, careful observation, and step-by-step practice lead to improvement in any skill, including learning English. Now, let's consider a conversation in a bookstore. You could ask, "Hello, I'm looking for a biography about a famous scientist. Could you recommend one?" The bookseller may respond, "Certainly. Einstein, his life and universe is very detailed and engaging." You could reply, "That sounds excellent. I'll take it. Thank you." Notice how precise language and polite phrasing ensure clear communication and build confidence in real-life interactions. Here's a story from my friend Natalie. She joined a local cooking club to improve her English and meet new people. At first, she struggled to understand all the instructions, but she listened carefully, repeated phrases aloud, and asked questions when necessary. After a few sessions, she could follow recipes entirely in English and even explain techniques to new members. Natalie's experience shows that combining hobbies with language practice accelerates learning while making it enjoyable. Now, imagine a professional scenario in a meeting. You might say, "I reviewed the financial report and noticed some trends that could help optimize our budget. Could we discuss possible adjustments?" A colleague may reply, "Yes, that's a valuable observation. Let's schedule a short session to analyze the numbers together."
Notice how focusing on facts and using polite, collaborative language enhances communication and problem solving. Here's a personal story from my life. One weekend, my husband and I decided to organize a small garden party. We planned decorations, prepared food, and invited a few neighbors. Some items didn't go as planned, like a cake that didn't rise properly, but we adapted by serving alternative snacks and enjoyed the event. This story teaches us that flexibility, planning, and enjoying the process are important in any activity, including language practice. Let's practice a dialogue at a train station. You could ask, "Excuse me, does the train to Cardiff stop at Bristol?" The station officer may reply, "Yes, it stops at Bristol at 3:50 p.m. Are you traveling with any luggage?" You could answer, "Yes, one suitcase. Thank you for your help." Notice how including essential details makes conversations smooth and avoids confusion. Here's another professional story. My friend Olivia works in an advertising agency. She was asked to create a campaign for a new product in a very short time frame. She prioritized tasks, collaborated with her team, and communicated clearly with clients. Despite tight deadlines, the campaign was completed successfully. Olivia said that staying organized, asking questions when unsure, and maintaining clear communication were key factors. This story shows that structure, focus, and collaboration are vital in professional life. Let's look at a travel-related conversation. Imagine you are at a hotel reception. You could say, "Hello, I have a reservation under the name Blake. Could you confirm the check-in details, please?" The receptionist may reply, "Of course. You have booked a deluxe room for 2 nights. Would you like us to prepare any special amenities?" You could answer, "Yes, please provide extra pillows. Thank you." Using polite questions and paying attention to responses ensures clarity and builds confidence in real-life interactions. Here's a story about learning through mistakes. My friend Andrew decided to try baking bread at home. The first time, he forgot to preheat the oven and the bread was undercooked. Instead of giving up, he carefully read the instructions, followed the steps, and tried again. The second attempt was perfect. This story reminds us that mistakes are part of learning, and careful attention leads to improvement, whether in cooking or mastering English. Now imagine a professional conversation in an office. You might say, "I noticed that our weekly reports could be more efficient if we use a shared template. Would it be possible to implement this?" A colleague may reply, "That's a great suggestion. I'll create a draft template and we can review it together." Notice how collaborative language and offering practical solutions enhances communication and problem solving. Here's a personal story from my life. One weekend, my husband and I decided to organize a small garden party. We planned decorations, prepared food, and invited a few neighbors. Some items didn't go as planned, like a cake that didn't rise properly, but we adapted by serving alternative snacks and enjoyed the event. This story teaches us that flexibility, planning, and enjoying the process are important in any activity, including language practice. Let's practice a dialogue in a cafe. You might say, "Good afternoon. I'd like a cappuccino and a slice of carrot cake. Do you have any specials today?" The barista may reply, "Yes, we have a freshly baked apple tart that pairs well with coffee." You could answer, "That sounds wonderful. I'll take one. Thank you." Notice how asking politely and listening carefully create friendly, natural interactions.
Here's another story about professional development. My friend Samuel joined an online writing course to improve his English. He wrote essays, received feedback from instructors, and revised his work. Initially, he struggled with grammar and structure, but with consistent practice, he improved significantly. Samuel said that regular practice and constructive feedback were key to his progress. This story demonstrates the importance of continuous learning and applying feedback in real life. Let's look at a travel-related scenario. Imagine you are at a bus station, asking for directions. You could say, "Excuse me, which bus goes to the city center and how long does it take?" The staff may reply, "Bus number 12 goes directly to the city center. The journey takes about 25 minutes. Do you need a ticket?" You could answer, "Yes, please. Thank you for your help." Including key details and listening carefully ensures clear and effective communication. Here's a personal story about patience and learning. My neighbor, Mrs. Hughes, decided to learn painting. She started with simple sketches, and although the first attempts were not perfect, she practiced daily, studied techniques, and gradually improved. After a few months, she created several impressive paintings. This story shows that consistent effort and learning from experience lead to mastery, whether in hobbies or language. Let me tell you a story about my friend Rachel, who recently decided to organize a charity fundraiser. She was responsible for coordinating volunteers, arranging logistics, and promoting the event to local businesses. On the day of the fundraiser, a few volunteers called in sick, and the delivery of donated items was delayed. Rachel stayed composed, reassigned tasks, and communicated updates to the participants. Despite the challenges, the event ran smoothly, and they raised more than expected. This story highlights the importance of adaptability, leadership, and clear communication when handling complex tasks. Imagine a professional dialogue during a brainstorming session. You could say, "I have an idea that could enhance our customer engagement strategy. Can I present it briefly?" A colleague may respond, "Of course, we're open to suggestions." Using polite phrasing and offering solutions encourages collaboration and productive discussion. Here's a story from travel. Last autumn, my husband and I visited a historic city in southern Europe. We booked a guided walking tour with a historian named Isabel. She explained the history of the buildings, the influence of local traditions, and shared interesting anecdotes. Some terminology was unfamiliar, but by taking notes and asking clarifying questions, we were able to understand the stories and discuss them afterward. This demonstrates that combining observation, note-taking, and active engagement improves comprehension and language skills. Let's practice a dialogue in a workplace scenario. You might say, "I noticed an opportunity to streamline our reporting process. Would you like me to prepare a draft template for review?" A colleague may reply, "Yes, that would be very helpful. Let's see how it works in practice." Providing clear suggestions and being proactive helps maintain professional efficiency and demonstrates leadership. Here's a story from daily life. My neighbor, Mr. Harris, decided to restore an old bicycle he found in his garage. At first, it was challenging to identify which parts needed replacement. He researched tutorials online, consulted a local repair shop, and worked carefully. After a few days, the bicycle was fully functional, and he enjoyed taking short rides around the neighborhood. This story shows that patience, research, and careful execution are essential in accomplishing goals effectively. Now, imagine a conversation at a bookstore. You could ask, "Hello, I'm interested in books on advanced economics. Could you recommend one that's accessible but detailed?" The bookseller may respond, "Certainly. Capital in the 21st Century by Thomas Piketty is both informative and engaging." You could answer, "Thank you. That sounds perfect."
Using precise and polite language ensures clear communication and builds confidence in both professional and social contexts. Here's a story about learning English through immersive experiences. My friend Sophie joined a local photography group that communicated entirely in English. At first, she found it challenging to understand technical discussions, but by actively listening, asking questions, and practicing terms out loud, she gradually became comfortable. Within a few weeks, she could contribute ideas and give feedback to others. Sophie's experience demonstrates that immersion and consistent practice accelerate language development. Now consider a professional scenario. You might say, I reviewed the quarterly report and noticed areas that could benefit from additional analysis. Would it be helpful if I prepared a summary? A colleague may reply, yes, that would be excellent. Thank you for taking the initiative. Clear, concise suggestions and proactive communication enhance teamwork and problem solving. Here's a personal story. My husband and I recently decided to organize a small reading corner at home. We sorted books by genre, labeled shelves, and arranged comfortable seating. Initially, it took longer than expected because we underestimated the number of books, but careful planning and systematic work allowed us to complete it. This story highlights that preparation, patience, and organization are key to success in both personal and professional projects. Let's practice a dialogue at a train station. You might ask, excuse me, which platform is for the train to Manchester? The station officer may reply, it departs from platform 10 at 4:45 p.m. Are you carrying luggage? You could answer, yes, one suitcase. Thank you for your assistance. Including relevant details ensures smooth communication in real-life situations. Here's another professional story. My friend Olivia works in marketing. She was assigned to create a presentation for a new product launch. She conducted research, drafted slides, and sought feedback from her team. Despite some last-minute changes, the presentation was well received by management. Olivia mentioned that preparation, adaptability, and attention to detail were key factors. This demonstrates that careful planning and flexibility lead to successful outcomes. Let's look at a travel-related scenario. My husband and I once visited a remote village where we joined a cooking workshop led by a local chef, Marco. He explained recipes, cooking methods, and cultural traditions. Initially, the instructions were difficult to follow, but by observing closely, asking questions, and practicing the steps ourselves, we successfully prepared several dishes. This shows that active participation enhances learning and comprehension, both in English and life skills. Here's a dialogue example in a cafe. You might say, good morning. I'd like a cappuccino with oat milk and a slice of lemon cake, please. Do you have any specials today? The barista may reply, our chocolate scones are freshly baked and go well with coffee. You could answer, that sounds perfect. I'll try one. Thank you.
Now, here's a story about persistence and skill development. My friend Nathan decided to learn how to play the piano. At first, he struggled with finger coordination and reading notes. He practiced daily, used online tutorials, and gradually improved. Within a few months, he could play complete pieces and even perform for friends. Nathan's story illustrates that consistent effort, structured practice, and patience are essential for mastering any skill, including English. Here's a professional scenario. You might say, I noticed some inconsistencies in the financial report. Would it be useful if I prepared a revised summary for clarity? A colleague may respond, yes, that would be very helpful. Please do so before our next review meeting. Constructive suggestions and clear communication strengthen professional relationships. Here's a story from everyday life. My neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, started a local gardening group. She invited neighbors, shared tips, and organized regular meetings. At first, only a few people attended, but through consistent effort and encouraging participation, the group grew steadily. Members became confident discussing gardening techniques in English. This example demonstrates that persistence and positive engagement lead to success in both social and educational environments. Let's practice a dialogue at a library. You could ask, "Excuse me, can you help me find books on contemporary architecture and urban planning?" The librarian may reply, "Certainly. Are you looking for beginner-friendly books or advanced texts?" You could respond, "I'm looking for advanced materials that are detailed. Thank you." Asking clear, specific questions and listening attentively ensures effective communication. Now let's discuss learning English through hobbies. My friend Laura took up painting as a hobby. She joined a local art club where discussions and critiques were conducted in English. Initially, she struggled to understand all the terminology, but by asking questions and practicing repeatedly, she improved her comprehension and confidence. This story demonstrates that combining interests with language practice makes learning enjoyable and effective. Here's a professional story. My friend Daniel works in finance and had to present a market analysis report. He prepared detailed slides, anticipated questions, and rehearsed his explanations. During the meeting, he presented clearly, answered queries confidently, and received commendations. Daniel mentioned that preparation, anticipation, and clarity were key to his success. This shows that confidence and structured practice improve professional communication. Let's practice a travel-related scenario at a bus station. You might ask, "Excuse me, which bus goes to the city center and how often does it depart?" The staff may reply, "Bus number 8 goes to the city center every 15 minutes. Do you need a ticket?" You can answer, "Yes, please. Thank you for your help." Asking precise questions and listening carefully ensures effective interaction. Now, here's a personal story about persistence and improvement. My neighbor, Mr. Wallace, started learning woodworking. Initially, his projects were uneven and measurements were incorrect. He studied tutorials, practiced regularly, and gradually improved. After several weeks, he successfully built a small cabinet. This story illustrates that regular practice, patience, and learning from mistakes lead to mastery in any skill, including language learning. Let me share a story about my friend Mark, who is an architect. Recently, he was asked to design a small community center in his town. The project involved collaborating with engineers, local authorities, and community members. Initially, conflicting opinions made it challenging to agree on a design. Mark organized multiple meetings, listened carefully to everyone's suggestions, and proposed a compromise that included innovative features without exceeding the budget. When the project was completed, it was highly praised for its functionality and aesthetics. This story demonstrates the importance of listening, negotiation, and problem-solving skills in professional and everyday situations. Now, imagine a dialogue in a corporate setting. You might say, "I've analyzed the sales data and noticed some areas where we could optimize performance. Could we discuss strategies in the next meeting?" A colleague may reply, "That sounds useful. Please prepare a summary so we can review it efficiently." Using clear and polite language shows initiative while maintaining collaboration.
Here's a story from travel. Last summer, my husband and I visited a coastal town known for its historic lighthouses. We joined a guided tour led by a local historian named Olivia, who explained the architecture, local legends, and maritime history. Some of the vocabulary was unfamiliar, but by taking notes and asking clarifying questions, we were able to follow the story and even explain it to friends afterward. This demonstrates that active listening and engagement improve both understanding and retention. Let's practice a dialogue in a professional meeting. You might say, "I believe that improving our internal communication channels could increase efficiency. Could we pilot a new system?" A team member could reply, "That's a good idea. Let's discuss the logistics and see how it can be implemented." Offering constructive suggestions with polite phrasing strengthens collaboration and professionalism. Here's a story from everyday life. My neighbor, Mr. Foster, decided to renovate his backyard. He planned carefully, measured the area, and bought suitable materials. During the project, he encountered unexpected problems, such as uneven soil and missing tools. Instead of becoming frustrated, he adapted the plan, consulted tutorials online, and completed the renovation successfully. This story highlights that planning, adaptability, and resourcefulness are essential for completing tasks effectively. Now imagine a dialogue at a bookstore. You could ask, "Hello, I'm looking for a book about sustainable living and environmental practices. Could you recommend one that is comprehensive yet readable?" The bookseller may respond, "Yes, The Sustainable Life is detailed and easy to follow." You could answer, "Thank you. That sounds perfect." Using clear, polite language ensures effective communication and helps build confidence in English interactions. Here's a story about learning English naturally. My friend Emma joined a local hiking group that communicated exclusively in English. At first, she had difficulty understanding some technical terms and directions, but by listening attentively, asking questions, and practicing phrases aloud, she quickly improved her comprehension and confidence. This shows that active participation in real-life contexts accelerates language acquisition. Consider a professional scenario. You might say, "I've reviewed the marketing campaign and noticed several areas that could be enhanced. Would it be helpful if I prepared a brief analysis?" A colleague may respond, "Absolutely. Your input will help us improve results." Providing constructive feedback and suggesting solutions politely improves team productivity and relationships.
Here's a personal story. My husband and I decided to organize a small home office space. We measured the area, sorted documents, and arranged furniture systematically. Initially, it took longer than expected because we underestimated the number of items, but careful planning and teamwork allowed us to complete it efficiently. This story highlights that preparation, organization, and cooperation are crucial for achieving desired outcomes. Let's practice a dialogue at a train station. You might ask, "Excuse me, does this train to Liverpool stop at York?" The station officer may reply, "Yes, it stops at York at 5:15 p.m. Are you carrying any luggage?" You could answer, "Yes, one suitcase. Thank you for your assistance." Including necessary details ensures smooth and precise communication in everyday situations. Here's another professional story. My friend Jessica works as a software project manager. She was assigned to lead a team for developing a mobile application.
During the project, unexpected technical challenges emerged. Jessica encouraged her team to brainstorm solutions, divided tasks efficiently, and maintained clear communication with the client. The app was delivered successfully, and Jessica noted that flexibility, clear communication, and leadership were essential for meeting tight deadlines. Let's look at a travel scenario. My husband and I once attended a cooking workshop in a small village led by a local chef named Antonio. He explained traditional recipes, cooking techniques, and cultural customs. Initially, the instructions were challenging, but we carefully observed, asked clarifying questions, and practiced each step. By the end, we were able to prepare multiple dishes successfully and explain the process in English. This shows that active involvement and observation enhance both learning and language skills. Here's a dialogue example in a cafe. You might say, "Good afternoon. I'd like a cappuccino with almond milk and a slice of pumpkin pie, please. Are there any specials today?" The barista may reply, "Our blueberry muffins are freshly baked and go well with coffee." You could answer, "That sounds perfect. I'll take one. Thank you." Polite requests and attentive listening ensure smooth and friendly interactions. Here's a story about persistence. My friend Liam decided to learn the violin. Initially, he struggled with finger placement and rhythm. He practiced daily, sought guidance from a tutor, and gradually improved. Within a few months, he could play entire pieces and perform in small gatherings. Liam's experience demonstrates that consistent practice, patience, and guidance lead to mastery in any skill, including language acquisition. Here's a professional scenario. You might say, "I noticed some inconsistencies in the project documentation. Would it help if I prepared a revised version for easier understanding?" A colleague may reply, "Yes, that would be very useful. Thank you for taking the initiative." Using clear communication and constructive suggestions enhances team effectiveness and relationships. Here's a story from everyday life. My neighbor, Mrs. Edwards, started a local knitting club. She invited participants, shared techniques, and organized regular sessions. Initially, only a few members attended, but through consistent effort and encouragement, the club grew steadily. Members became confident discussing techniques and sharing patterns in English. This demonstrates that persistence and positive engagement create successful learning environments. Let's practice a dialogue at a library. You could ask, "Excuse me, can you help me find books on contemporary art and design?" The librarian may reply, "Certainly. Are you looking for beginner-friendly material or advanced references?" You could answer, "I'm seeking advanced references with detailed analysis. Thank you." Asking clear, specific questions and listening attentively ensures effective communication. Now let's discuss learning English through hobbies. My friend Chloe started practicing yoga. She joined an English-speaking class where the instructor explained poses, breathing techniques, and mindfulness practices. Initially, she had difficulty understanding all instructions, but by repeating phrases aloud and asking questions, she gradually improved. Chloe's experience shows that combining interest with language practice enhances learning and retention. Here's a professional story. My friend Matthew, who works in finance, had to present a detailed market analysis to his team. He prepared slides, anticipated potential questions, and rehearsed thoroughly. During the presentation, he explained trends, clearly answered queries confidently, and received praise. Matthew emphasized that preparation, anticipation, and clarity are essential for successful communication. Let's practice a travel-related scenario at a bus station. You might ask, "Excuse me, which bus goes to the city center and how frequently does it depart?" The staff may reply, "Bus number 10 goes to the city center every 20 minutes. Would you like a ticket?" You could answer, "Yes, please. Thank you for your assistance." Asking clear questions and listening carefully ensures effective communication in real-life situations.
Here's a personal story about persistence. My neighbor, Mr. Anderson, began learning photography. Initially, his pictures were poorly composed and exposure settings were incorrect. He studied tutorials, practiced regularly, and sought feedback from a mentor. Within a few months, his photos improved dramatically, and he even entered a local photography contest. This story shows that consistent practice, feedback, and patience lead to success in learning any skill, including language. Let me share a story about my friend Henry, who is a civil engineer. Recently, he was assigned to oversee the construction of a new bridge. During the project, unexpected weather conditions caused delays, and some materials were unavailable. Henry organized daily briefings with the team, adjusted timelines, and coordinated with suppliers to ensure progress. Despite the challenges, the bridge was completed on time and received praise for both safety and design. This example shows that strategic planning, communication, and problem-solving skills are essential when managing complex projects. Imagine a dialogue in a professional setting. You might say, "I have identified several areas in our client proposal that could be clarified. Would it be helpful if I prepared a detailed summary?" A colleague may respond, "Yes, that would be extremely useful. Thank you for taking the initiative." Using clear and polite language demonstrates professionalism and encourages collaborative problem solving. Here's a story from travel. Last winter, my husband and I visited a mountainous region for a hiking trip. We joined a guided tour led by a local expert named Elena, who explained the terrain, historical landmarks, and safety precautions. Some of her terms were new to us, but by asking clarifying questions and taking careful notes, we understood the instructions and navigated the trails safely. This story illustrates that active listening and thoughtful questioning enhance understanding in real-life situations. Let's practice a dialogue in a corporate meeting. You could say, "I have identified several areas in our client proposal that could be clarified. Would it be helpful if I prepared a detailed summary?" A colleague may respond, "Yes, that would be extremely useful. Thank you for taking the initiative." Constructive feedback and polite phrasing foster teamwork and effective communication. Here's a story from everyday life. My neighbor, Mr. Green, decided to restore his old car. Initially, he faced difficulties identifying the right parts and repairing the engine. He consulted manuals, watched online tutorials, and asked for advice from a local mechanic. After several days of careful work, the car was fully functional again. This story shows that patience, research, and persistence are key to successfully completing challenging tasks. Now, imagine a conversation at a bookstore. You could ask, "Hello, I'm looking for books on advanced psychology that are both informative and engaging. Could you recommend one?" The bookseller may respond, "Certainly. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg is very insightful." You could answer, "Thank you. That sounds perfect."
Using precise language and polite phrasing ensures clear and effective communication. Here's a story about learning English in a practical setting. My friend Anna joined a cooking class conducted in English. Initially, she struggled to follow instructions and understand terminology, but by asking questions, repeating phrases, and observing the instructor carefully, she gradually became confident. Within weeks, she could explain recipes and cooking techniques to other students. Anna's experience demonstrates that practical application of language skills accelerates learning while making it enjoyable. Consider a professional scenario. You might say, "I've reviewed the latest market research and found some trends worth discussing. Would it be helpful if I prepared a summary for the team?" A colleague may respond, "Yes, that would be very useful. Thank you for your initiative." Providing clear suggestions and taking initiative shows leadership and strengthens collaboration. Here's a personal story. My husband and I recently decided to reorganize our home library. We sorted books by genre, labeled each section, and arranged seating for reading. At first, it seemed overwhelming due to the number of books, but careful planning and teamwork made it manageable. This story highlights that organization, planning, and cooperation are essential for achieving goals efficiently. Let's practice a dialogue at a train station. You might ask, "Excuse me, does this train to Edinburgh stop at York?" The station officer may reply, "Yes, it stops at York at 3:40 p.m. Are you carrying luggage?" You could answer, "Yes, one suitcase. Thank you for your assistance." Including all relevant details ensures smooth communication and avoids confusion. Here's another professional story. My friend Emily, who works in marketing, was tasked with organizing a campaign for a new product launch. She researched the target audience, created detailed proposals, and collaborated with her team. Despite some last-minute challenges, the campaign was successful, and Emily credited clear communication and teamwork for the achievement. This story shows that preparation and coordination are key to professional success. Let's look at a travel-related example. My husband and I once attended a culinary workshop in a coastal town led by Chef Luca. He explained recipes, cooking techniques, and cultural traditions. At first, we found the instructions challenging, but by observing carefully, asking clarifying questions, and practicing each step, we prepared several dishes successfully. This demonstrates that active engagement enhances both skill and language comprehension. Here's a dialogue example. In a cafe, you could say, "Good morning, I'd like a latte with oat milk and a slice of chocolate cake, please. Are there any specials today?" The barista may reply, "Yes, our raspberry muffins are freshly baked and pair well with coffee." You could answer, "That sounds perfect. I'll try one. Thank you." Using polite phrasing and listening attentively creates natural and effective interactions. Here's a story about persistence and learning. My friend Jason decided to learn chess. At first, he struggled to understand strategies and anticipate moves. He studied online tutorials, played regularly, and analyzed his games. After a few months, he could play confidently and even participate in local tournaments. Jason's experience shows that consistent practice, patience, and reflection lead to mastery in any skill, including language learning. Here's a professional scenario. You might say, "I noticed discrepancies in the quarterly financial report. Would it help if I prepared a revised summary for clarity?" A colleague may respond, "Yes, that would be extremely helpful. Thank you for your attention to detail." Clear communication and proactive problem-solving strengthen teamwork and credibility. Here's a story from everyday life. My neighbor, Mrs. Bennett, started a local pottery group. She invited neighbors, shared techniques, and organized weekly sessions.
Initially, only a few members participated, but through consistent effort and encouragement, the group grew steadily. Members became confident discussing techniques and sharing projects in English. This example shows that persistence and positive engagement lead to success in social and educational settings. Let's practice a dialogue at a library. You could ask, "Excuse me, can you help me find books on modern literature and literary theory?" The librarian may reply, "Certainly. Are you looking for introductory books or advanced references?" You could answer, "I'm seeking advanced references with detailed analysis. Thank you." Asking specific questions and listening carefully ensures effective communication. Now, let's discuss learning English through hobbies. My friend Sarah started practicing painting. She joined a local art class where all instructions and critiques were in English. Initially, she found it challenging to understand technical terms, but by asking questions and practicing regularly, she improved significantly. Sarah's experience demonstrates that combining personal interests with language practice enhances both enjoyment and learning efficiency. Here's a professional story. My friend David, who works in consulting, had to present a complex report to clients. He prepared slides, rehearsed explanations, and anticipated potential questions. During the presentation, he communicated clearly, addressed inquiries confidently, and received positive feedback. David emphasized that preparation, anticipation, and structured delivery are essential for professional communication success. Let's practice a travel-related scenario at a bus station. You might ask, "Excuse me, which bus goes to the city center and how frequently does it depart?" The staff may reply, "Bus number 15 goes to the city center every 15 minutes. Do you need a ticket?" You could answer, "Yes, please. Thank you for your help." Asking precise questions and listening attentively ensures smooth communication. Here's a personal story about persistence. My neighbor, Mr. Collins, began learning woodworking. Initially, his projects were uneven and he struggled with measurements. He studied tutorials, practiced daily, and sought advice from an experienced mentor. Within weeks, he built a small bookshelf successfully. This story illustrates that consistent practice, patience, and learning from feedback lead to mastery in any skill, including language development. Let me tell you a story about my friend Thomas, a civil engineer working on urban development projects. Recently, he was tasked with designing a community park in a busy neighborhood. He had to balance green spaces, walking paths, and recreational areas while considering local residents' needs. During planning meetings, he listened carefully to suggestions, evaluated feasibility, and incorporated creative solutions without exceeding the budget. Once completed, the park became a popular spot for families and children. This example shows that careful listening, creative problem-solving, and attention to community needs are vital in professional and personal projects. Now, imagine a professional dialogue during a project review. You might say, "I've analyzed the current workflow and noticed potential areas for improvement. Could we discuss strategies for optimization?" A colleague may reply, "That's a great idea. Please prepare a brief report so we can review it together." Using precise language and offering solutions demonstrates professionalism and encourages collaboration. Here's a story from travel. Last spring, my husband and I explored a small coastal village renowned for its art galleries. We joined a walking tour with a local guide named Clara, who explained the history of each gallery, the artist's inspiration, and cultural significance. Some terms were unfamiliar, but by asking questions and taking detailed notes, we were able to understand and even discuss the art confidently in English afterward.
This demonstrates that active listening and curiosity enhance both comprehension and retention. Let's practice a dialogue in a corporate setting. You might say, "I've noticed that our team meetings could be more efficient with a structured agenda. Could we implement one?" A colleague could reply, "That makes sense. Let's try for the next meeting and see how it works." Constructive suggestions combined with polite language strengthen professional relationships and workflow efficiency. Here's a story from everyday life. My neighbor, Mr. Reynolds, decided to remodel his home office. At first, he struggled with selecting the right furniture and arranging the space efficiently. He researched interior design tips online, asked for advice from friends, and tested different layouts. After careful planning, the office became both functional and visually appealing. This story illustrates that research, experimentation, and thoughtful decision-making are essential to successfully completing tasks. Now, imagine a conversation at a bookstore. You could ask, "Hello, I'm looking for books about leadership and management. Could you recommend one that is advanced but practical?" The bookseller may reply, "Certainly. Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek is highly regarded and informative." You could answer, "Thank you. That sounds perfect." Using specific and polite phrasing ensures effective and confident communication in professional and social contexts. Here's a story about learning English through practical experience. My friend Olivia joined a volunteer group at a local animal shelter. Initially, she found it difficult to understand some of the technical instructions and descriptions of animal behavior. By observing, asking questions, and practicing phrases out loud, she quickly improved her vocabulary and confidence. Within a few weeks, she was able to explain procedures to new volunteers in English. This shows that immersive experiences accelerate language learning effectively.
Consider a professional scenario. You might say, "I have prepared an analysis of last month's marketing campaign. Would it be helpful if I presented it to the team?" A colleague may respond, "Yes, that would be very useful. Your insights will help us improve our strategy." Providing concise, clear information and showing initiative promotes professional collaboration and respect. Here's a personal story. My husband and I decided to reorganize our kitchen to make it more efficient. We sorted utensils, arranged appliances, and optimized storage space. At first, it was overwhelming because of the number of items, but through careful planning and teamwork, we achieved a functional and organized kitchen. This story emphasizes the importance of preparation, organization, and collaboration in achieving goals. Let's practice a dialogue at a train station. You might ask, "Excuse me, does this train to Newcastle stop at Durham?" The station officer may reply, "Yes, it stops at Durham at 2:30 p.m. Are you carrying any luggage?" You could answer, "Yes, one suitcase. Thank you for your guidance." Including all relevant details ensures precise communication and smooth travel experiences. Here's another professional story. My friend Rachel, who works as a software developer, was assigned to update an existing application with new features. During development, unexpected technical challenges emerged. She collaborated closely with her team, divided tasks efficiently, and maintained regular updates with stakeholders. The project was successfully completed, and Rachel mentioned that adaptability, clear communication, and teamwork were key factors in the success. Let's look at a travel scenario. My husband and I attended a workshop on traditional pottery in a small town led by a local artisan named Marco. He explained techniques, materials, and historical context. At first, following instructions was difficult, but we observed carefully, asked clarifying questions, and practiced each step. By the end, we successfully created our own pottery pieces. This story demonstrates that hands-on participation enhances understanding, skill, and language comprehension simultaneously. Here's a dialogue example in a cafe. You could say, "Good afternoon. I'd like a cappuccino with almond milk and a slice of apple pie, please. Are there any freshly baked items today?" The barista may reply, "Our cinnamon rolls are freshly baked and go well with coffee." You could answer, "That sounds perfect. I'll try one. Thank you." Polite and specific language ensures smooth communication and creates a positive interaction. Here's a story about persistence. My friend Lucas decided to learn to play the guitar. Initially, he struggled with chords and rhythm, but he practiced daily, followed tutorials, and sought feedback from experienced players. Within months, he could play complete songs and even perform for small gatherings. Lucas's experience shows that consistent effort, patience, and structured practice lead to mastery in any skill, including English. Here's a professional scenario. You might say, "I noticed some inconsistencies in the quarterly report. Would it be helpful if I prepared a revised summary for clarity?" A colleague may respond, "Yes, that would be extremely useful. Thank you for your initiative." Constructive feedback and proactive problem-solving strengthen professional credibility and teamwork. Here's a story from everyday life. My neighbor, Mrs. Carter, started a local knitting and crafting group. She invited neighbors, shared techniques, and organized weekly sessions. Initially, only a few people attended, but through consistent effort and encouragement, the group grew steadily. Members became confident discussing techniques and projects in English. This example shows that dedication and positive engagement create successful social and educational experiences. Let's practice a dialogue at a library. You could ask, "Excuse me, can you help me find books on modern architecture and urban design?" The librarian may reply, "Certainly. Are you looking for beginner-friendly material or advanced references?" You could answer, "I'm seeking advanced references with detailed analysis. Thank you." Asking specific questions and listening attentively ensures effective communication in real-life situations. Now, let's talk about learning English through hobbies. My friend Megan started taking photography classes. The class was conducted in English, and participants discussed techniques, lighting, and composition. Initially, she struggled with technical terms, but by asking questions and practicing repeatedly, her confidence and vocabulary improved. Megan's experience shows that combining personal interests with language learning creates both engagement and progress. Here's a professional story. My friend Andrew, who works in consulting, had to present a detailed analysis to clients. He prepared comprehensive slides, rehearsed explanations, and anticipated potential questions. During the presentation, he communicated clearly, addressed inquiries confidently, and received praise for his professionalism. Andrew emphasized that preparation, anticipation, and structured delivery are essential for professional success. Let's practice a travel-related scenario at a bus station. You might ask, "Excuse me, which bus goes to the airport and how frequently does it depart?" The staff may reply, "Bus number 20 goes to the airport every 20 minutes. Would you like a ticket?" You could answer, "Yes, please. Thank you for your assistance." Asking clear questions and listening carefully ensures smooth communication in real-life situations. Here's a personal story about persistence. My neighbor, Mr. Phillips, began learning woodworking. Initially, his projects were uneven, and he struggled with measurements and finishing. He studied tutorials, practiced daily, and sought advice from an experienced mentor. Within weeks, he successfully built a small bookshelf and later a coffee table. This story illustrates that consistent practice, patience, and guidance lead to mastery in any skill, including language development. Let me share a story about my friend Victor, who works as a logistics manager.
Recently, he was responsible for coordinating a large shipment of supplies across multiple cities. Unexpected traffic delays and weather disruptions created several challenges. Victor quickly assessed alternatives, reorganized delivery schedules, and kept his team informed at every step. By staying calm and solution-focused, he ensured that the supplies arrived on time.
This story demonstrates the value of flexibility, planning, and effective communication in achieving successful outcomes. Now, imagine a professional dialogue during a team meeting. You might say, "I've analyzed our customer feedback and noticed trends that could inform product improvements. Would it be helpful if I prepared a detailed summary?" A colleague may reply, "That would be excellent. Your insights will guide our next steps." Using clear, polite, and precise language builds confidence and encourages collaboration in professional settings. Here's a story from travel. Last autumn, my husband and I took a trip to a mountainous region famous for its scenic hiking trails. We joined a guided tour with a local guide named Simon. He shared the history of the mountains, safety tips, and interesting anecdotes about local wildlife. Some of the terminology was unfamiliar, but by asking clarifying questions and taking careful notes, we understood and enjoyed the experience fully. This shows that active engagement and curiosity enhance both comprehension and retention. Let's practice a dialogue in a corporate environment. You might say, "I've noticed that our internal reporting process could be streamlined. Would it be useful if I drafted a proposal for review?" A colleague might respond, "Yes, that would be very helpful. Thank you for taking the initiative." Providing constructive solutions while maintaining polite communication strengthens professional relationships. Here's a story from daily life. My neighbor, Mr. Parker, decided to renovate his garden. Initially, he faced unexpected challenges like uneven soil and missing tools. He researched techniques online, consulted gardening experts, and carefully executed each step. After several days, the garden was fully restored and became a beautiful space for relaxation. This story highlights the importance of planning, problem-solving, and patience in completing tasks successfully. Now, imagine a conversation at a bookstore. You could ask, "Hello, I'm looking for books about advanced psychology and human behavior. Could you recommend one that is both insightful and accessible?" The bookseller may respond, "Certainly, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman is highly informative." You could answer, "Thank you, that sounds perfect." Using clear, specific, and polite phrasing ensures effective communication and builds confidence. Here's a story about learning English in real-life settings. My friend Laura joined a volunteer program at a community library. Initially, she had difficulty understanding instructions about organizing books and managing events. By listening attentively, asking clarifying questions, and practicing the phrases aloud, she gradually became confident and able to instruct new volunteers in English. This demonstrates that immersive experiences accelerate language learning effectively. Consider a professional scenario. You might say, "I've reviewed last month's performance metrics and noticed areas for potential improvement. Would it be useful if I prepared a brief report?" A colleague might respond, "Yes, that would be very helpful. Your analysis will guide our strategy." Clear, proactive communication promotes teamwork and efficiency. Here's a personal story. My husband and I recently decided to reorganize our garage. We sorted tools, labeled storage boxes, and optimized shelving. At first, it seemed overwhelming due to the number of items, but careful planning and collaboration allowed us to complete the task efficiently. This story emphasizes that preparation, organization, and teamwork are essential for achieving goals. Let's practice a dialogue at a train station. You might ask, "Excuse me, does this train to Bristol stop at Reading?" The station officer may reply, "Yes, it stops at Reading at 11:15 a.m. Are you carrying luggage?" You could answer, "Yes, one suitcase. Thank you for your help." Including relevant details ensures smooth and precise communication in real-life situations. Here's another professional story. My friend Julia, who works in project management, was assigned to oversee a software upgrade for a client. During the project, unexpected technical problems arose. She encouraged her team to brainstorm solutions, delegated tasks efficiently, and communicated progress with the client regularly. The project was completed successfully, and Julia highlighted that adaptability, clear communication, and leadership were key factors. Let's look at a travel scenario. My husband and I attended a traditional cooking workshop in a rural village led by a local chef named Marco. He explained cultural history, ingredients, and preparation techniques. Initially, following instructions was challenging, but we observed carefully, asked clarifying questions, and practiced each step. By the end, we successfully prepared several dishes. This shows that hands-on experience enhances both learning and comprehension.
Here's a dialogue example in a cafe. You could say, "Good morning. I'd like a flat white with soy milk and a slice of carrot cake, please. Are there any specials today?" The barista may reply, "Our lemon tarts are freshly baked and pair well with coffee." You could answer, "That sounds perfect. I'll try one. Thank you." Polite phrasing and attentive listening create smooth, natural interactions. Here's a story about persistence and skill building. My friend Ethan decided to learn calligraphy. Initially, he struggled with brush control and lettering consistency. He practiced daily, followed tutorials, and sought feedback from experts. Within months, he could create professional quality pieces and even taught a small workshop. Ethan's experience shows that consistent effort, patience, and structured practice lead to mastery in any skill, including English. Here's a professional scenario. You might say, "I noticed a few inconsistencies in the quarterly report. Would it be helpful if I prepared a revised summary for clarity?" A colleague may respond, "Yes, that would be very useful. Thank you for taking the initiative." Providing constructive suggestions and proactive solutions enhances professional relationships and productivity. Here's a story from everyday life. My neighbor, Mrs. Robinson, started a local crafting group focused on sewing and embroidery. She invited community members, shared techniques, and organized weekly sessions. Initially, only a few people participated, but through consistent effort and encouragement, the group grew steadily. Members became confident sharing their projects and discussing techniques in English. This story demonstrates that persistence and positive engagement create effective learning environments. Let's practice a dialogue at a library. You could ask, "Excuse me, can you help me find books on advanced economics and finance?" The librarian may reply, "Certainly. Are you looking for practical guides or theoretical analyses?" You could answer, "I'm looking for theoretical analyses with detailed explanations. Thank you."
Asking specific questions and listening attentively ensures precise and effective communication. Now, let's discuss learning English through hobbies. My friend Isabella started pottery classes. The instructor explained techniques, glazing methods, and firing processes entirely in English. Initially, she struggled with technical terms, but by practicing and asking questions, her understanding and confidence grew. Isabella's experience shows that combining hobbies with language learning enhances motivation and retention. Here's a professional story. My friend Michael, a business consultant, had to present a detailed market report to clients. He prepared structured slides, anticipated questions, and rehearsed explanations. During the meeting, he communicated clearly, addressed inquiries confidently, and received commendation. Michael emphasized that preparation, anticipation, and clear communication are key to professional success. Let's practice a travel-related scenario at a bus station. You might ask, "Excuse me, which bus goes to this central station and how frequently does it run?" The staff may reply, "Bus number 12 runs every 20 minutes. Do you need a ticket?" You could answer, "Yes, please. Thank you for your assistance." Asking clear questions and listening carefully ensures effective real-world communication. Here's a personal story about persistence. My neighbor, Mr. Lewis, began woodworking as a hobby. Initially, his projects were uneven and he struggled with measurements. He practiced daily, studied tutorials, and sought guidance from an experienced mentor. Within weeks, he successfully built a small table and later a set of chairs. This story illustrates that consistent practice, patience, and guidance lead to mastery in any skill, including language learning. As we reach the end of today's episode, I hope these stories, dialogues, and examples have given you practical ways to improve your English listening, comprehension, and speaking skills. Remember, consistent practice and active engagement in real-life situations make a huge difference. Try to incorporate English into your daily routines through conversations, reading, or listening to podcasts like this one. Notice the vocabulary, sentence structures, and polite expressions, and repeat phrases aloud to build fluency. Language learning is a journey, and every small step counts. Listening carefully, asking questions when needed, and practicing new words and phrases will help you communicate confidently and naturally. Thank you for spending this time with me. Keep exploring, stay curious, and remember, learning English every day brings you closer to speaking fluently like a native. Stay motivated, practice consistently, and I'll see you in the next episode with more stories, dialogues, and practical tips to enhance your English skills. As we wrap up today's episode, remember that learning English is not just about memorizing vocabulary or grammar rules. It's about actively using the language in real-life situations. Every conversation, every question you ask, and every story you read or hear is an opportunity to improve your listening, comprehension, and speaking skills. Whether you're practicing at a bookstore, in a cafe, at a library, on a bus, or during a professional meeting, using clear, specific, and polite language builds confidence and makes communication effective. Immersing yourself in practical experiences through hobbies, travel, volunteering, or professional projects accelerates learning and helps you retain new words and phrases naturally. Persistence is key. Just like our friends who learned calligraphy, woodworking, chess, cooking, or public speaking, consistent practice, careful observation, asking questions, and reflecting on your progress will lead to mastery, not only in language, but in any skill you choose to pursue. Remember, to integrate English into your daily life, speak, read, listen, and write whenever you can. Repeat phrases aloud, pay attention to sentence structures, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. They are part of the learning journey. Every small step counts. Keep exploring, stay curious, and maintain a positive attitude. By practicing consistently and engaging actively with English, you are building the foundation to communicate confidently and fluently. Thank you for joining me today. Stay motivated, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next episode with more stories, dialogues, and practical tips to enhance your English skills.